give you a perfect example. So I travel globally and I see a lot of different customers globally. So Newmont Mine, a pretty large mining operation, was out at their Indonesia mine. They mine copper and gold at this particular site in Indonesia. So one of the things we were talking with Andre Smallberger, who's actually a South African, but he's the mine maintenance manager, and he was telling us that, you know, Caterpillar's on site at the mine. They do a lot of their maintenance and things like that, but they use Dello 400 engine oil versus the Caterpillar products, and they also use Dello extended life coolants. But he was saying that, you know, 500 hours is what they run on their Cat 3516 engines, typically. We said, well, okay, that's great, you know, let's tear down an engine. So we tore down an engine, took a look at it, everything looked great on it. But what was funny is we asked him for the oil analysis. So he got Caterpillar to send us over the oil analysis that they do on their SOS program. And one of the things we noticed after we grafted out all the sample data was, so Andres would say, hey, we're supposed to be doing 500-hour oil drains. Well, what we found was, yes, they were doing 500-hour oil drains on probably 3/4 of their fleet, but there was about 1/4 of the haul trucks that were getting into the 600, 700. They even had a couple going out to 1,000 hours on the engine oil. And when he looked at it, he couldn't believe it because he said, geez, you know, I know we're pretty consistent on our thing, but he said when he went back and talked to, you know, when he looked at some of the data, because he's relatively new in the job, he said, yeah, there are times when production's telling us, run the trucks. We're making too much money on copper. We're not going to stop for you to bring it into maintenance. And so that's just an example of how, you know, when you get into those types of situations, you want to make sure that you've got a product that's going to be able to take you that much longer.
I'm Jim McGeehan, Senior Consultant Scientist for Heavy Duty Diesel Engine Oils. We're here today inspecting a Caterpillar 3516 engine that has completed over 18,600 hours in a copper mine in Indonesia under very severe service, where in that region the fuel sulfur is 500 ppm. This engine operated on Caltex Dello 400 multigrade, and the coolant was Caltex Dello XLI. And in inspecting all these parts, they actually look excellent.
At Batahija, we operate a fleet of 111 Caterpillar 793 haul trucks. These trucks run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, under harsh mining conditions. Recently, we've been presented with the opportunity to take a look at how the engine oils and coolant perform in our engines. What we were really impressed with was to see the pristine condition of the components after 18,600 hours of operation.
We're looking at the pistons now. It's an aluminum skirt with a forged steel crown. The first area we look at is the bushing for the wrist pin, which is nowhere perfect condition. In addition to that, while we're looking at the undercrown, there is no undercrown deposits. Now looking at the lands, the lower land is totally clean, so is the third land is clean. The second land really has very little deposits at all. In fact, you can see how shiny it is in this location. And also the top land is clean. This engine has 2 camshafts, and we've inspected all the lobes. These lobes are like new. If we look at the lobe for the intake valve, or the exhaust valve, or the injector, they're in like new condition. There's no roller skidding, there's no micro pitting. It looks like a new camshaft. We're now looking at the connecting rod bearings. There's no sign of distress, no overlay removal. That's the unloaded side. We look at the loaded side, and you can just see 2 areas where a slight amount of the overlay has been removed. Other than that, the bearings in excellent condition and no cavitation of the bearings at all. We're now looking at the exterior of the cylinder liners. And in each case of all the 16 liners, there is no cavitation or erosion. In fact, you can still see the turning marks of the original manufacturing. We have now inspected and rated all the parts from this engine, and it is clear that the combination of the Caterpillar 3516 engine combined with the Caltex Dello family of products is meeting the customer requirements of engine durability, reliability, and reducing its operating costs.